Hi everyone, my name's Danny and I'm an educator with a local nonprofit called the Raptor Institute. Now when you hear the word raptor, you might think of the dinosaur, maybe the truck, maybe even the basketball team. But when I say the word raptor, I'm talking about our modern day raptors, and those are going to be things that you think of when you hear the term bird of prey. So those are going to be things like hawks, falcons, eagles, owls, even vultures are considered raptors. Now what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be meeting several different raptors that live here in San Diego, learning a little bit about them, what makes them a raptor, and why they're so important to have here in our communities. Now the birds that you're going to meet are birds that we work with at our organization that have come to us from the wild. So these are wild animals, and they're with us at the Raptor Institute because they were injured in the wild. So all the birds you're going to meet today have some kind of a handicap or permanent disability that prevents them from being able to survive back in the wild on their own. And that's why they're what we call our educational ambassadors. That's why they live in captivity and they're able to come out and do presentations like this and teach the public all about how amazing their species are and why they're so important to have here in San Diego. So if you guys are ready to get started, I'm going to go ahead and bring out our first guest and we'll start learning all about these amazing raptors. So this is our next raptor guest, and this might be a little more what you're thinking about when you think of a bird of prey. This is our largest falcon species that lives here in San Diego, and she's called the peregrine falcon. Now that's her rousing member. That's them ruffling up their feathers when they're feeling nice and comfortable, which is what she just did. Now the peregrine falcon, you may have heard of before. They've got a really amazing claim to fame that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But before we do that, I want to quickly mention what her handicap is. Now her handicap is physical, so she has a physical disability, and what it is her wing. You're probably noticing when she's standing here that her two wings don't quite look the same. The wing closest to me, her right wing, kind of droops down a little bit. And that's because unfortunately, she broke that right wing out in the wild. Someone found her on the ground with a broken wing. She obviously couldn't fly. She was taken to a wildlife rehabilitator, which is where we should take injured wildlife if we find it. And it was attempted to be healed. But unfortunately, the wing didn't quite heal properly. There was some long-term damage that doesn't give her full mobility of that wing. So while she can fly, she can't fly well enough to successfully hunt and catch enough food to keep herself alive, which is why she lives with us in captivity. Now guys, when we talk about raptors, we learned about those sharp talons, that sharp beak, and the fact that they're carnivores and they have to catch their own prey. One of the reasons, or one of the ways they're able to catch their prey so successfully is raptors are really well known for having amazing eyesight. Believe it or not, raptors have some of the best eyesight of any animal alive. Raptors can see about 8 times the detail that you and I can see with our eyes. Now what that means, it doesn't mean that they've got high-powered telescopes or binoculars that zoom in what they're seeing. It just means they're seeing a lot higher definition. So take, for example, the TV that you may have in your living room. You know, if you have a TV like me, it's quite small, about the size of a computer screen. I can't sit too far away from that TV if I want to watch a movie or a football game. If I sit on the other end of the room, I'm not going to be able to see what's going on because there's not enough detail on that small screen. But if you're lucky enough to have a really big 60-inch TV screen that's ultra high definition, 4K, all the bells and whistles, you could probably sit 20, 30 feet away from that TV and still see everything perfectly clearly. Now that's how raptors see their world, like having that ultra high definition television. Believe it or not, this peregrine falcon, who really likes to hunt and catch other birds, could be a half a mile up in the sky, look down to the ground and see a small sparrow or a dove hopping around on the ground. That's how amazingly detailed their vision is, and that's one of their main senses that they're going to use to help them find their prey. When raptors are hunting in the wild, they're predominantly visual hunters, meaning our daytime raptors are going to be using their eyes to look for, to locate, and then to try and capture their prey. And she has a pretty amazing claim to fame, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Now you'll notice again that she's wearing that hood on her head. That covers her eyes, keeps it nice and dark inside. And we'll go ahead and take that hood off in just a minute. Now before we do, guys, I do want to talk about one other falcon feature that makes these guys unique from the hawks, the eagles, the owls, the other raptor families. And that's going to be the shape of their wings. So falcons, they have really long, narrow wings, as opposed to hawks and eagles who have shorter, broader wings. So if we go ahead and get our peregrine falcon here to spread her wings for us, you'll notice those wings are very, very pointy and they're actually quite long. Believe it or not, when she spreads those wings all the way out, they can measure about 4 feet from tip to tip. Okay, and those long, narrow wings allow her to beat those wings very quickly and get going at high speeds. Okay, that makes her a very, very fast animal. So guys, let me go ahead and take her hood off so we can see what she looks like without that, and we'll learn a little bit more about the peregrine falcon. Okay, I'm gonna let her rouse. She's fluffing up, she's feeling comfy before I take her hood off. Now that she's got that out of her system, she might shake her head a few times, and I'll pull her hood off. We'll learn a little bit more about her. All right, guys, so this is our peregrine falcon. You remember that she is a falcon, and because she's a falcon, she's got that malar stripe, those black feathers directly beneath her eye. Now you'll notice her head's a lot more entirely black than that American kestrel, but she still does have a black stripe that extends beneath her eye. And remember, that's to help her see when it's really, really bright outside. All right, now you guys, I said just a few minutes ago that peregrine falcons have a claim to fame. Does anyone out there know why peregrine falcons are famous? Think about it for a sec, and now I'm going to tell you the answer. Okay, peregrine falcon's claim to fame is that this bird right here is the fastest animal on planet Earth. Peregrine falcons are faster than any other animal alive, even faster than cheetahs. Okay, now peregrine falcons can get going very, very fast when they dive from really high up in the sky. And they're gonna do that when they're hunting. So what this bird is gonna do is it's gonna fly up 1, 2, 3,000 feet way up high in the sky. It's gonna use its amazing eyesight to look for other birds flying beneath it. Because remember, peregrine falcons are carnivores. They eat other animals. And in the case of this bird, they really specialize or prefer to eat other birds. That could be a pigeon, that could be a duck, it could be a dove, whatever it is, they're looking for other birds. So by getting really high in the sky, they get above most of their prey and they can look down for them. Now when they see a pigeon come flying by, this peregrine falcon's gonna fold her wings into a tight little ball, come diving down out of the sky, and in that dive, peregrine falcons can actually reach speeds of up to 250 miles per hour. Now you guys probably have all heard that cheetahs are fast, and they are the fastest animal on land, but cheetahs can only run about 70 miles per hour. So that means peregrine falcons are over 3 times as fast as a cheetah, and that gives this bird right here the title of being the fastest animal on planet Earth. Pretty amazing, don't you guys think? I think that's pretty awesome. And do cheetahs live here in San Diego? Only at the zoo, not in the wild. But peregrine falcons, they live right here in San Diego in the wild. So you can come out to Dixon Lake here at Daly Ranch. You can go other places in San Diego and actually spot and see a peregrine falcon in the wild, the fastest animal on the planet, which I think is pretty amazing. So one other thing that's unique to falcons, a couple traits that they have that the other raptor species don't have, and some of the things that help them be very fast flyers, are this little projection inside of their nostril. It's a little bony cone that you can kind of see right here on the inside of her circular nostril. If you guys can see that, that bony tubercle helps this peregrine falcon breathe when she's going 200 plus miles per hour. Now that's because when you're diving down at 200 miles an hour and you have a circular nostril, the air is going to form a bubble and it's going to go over your nose. It's not going to go into your lungs. So she wouldn't be able to breathe, but because she has that little bony tubercle sticking out, it's going to pierce that bubble and it's going to draw the air into her nose, and that's going to allow her to breathe when she's flying at those top speeds. It's the same thing that if you've ever been on a jet airplane, you've looked out the window at the engine and you see that nice big pointy cone right in the middle of the engine. That cone serves the same purpose. It draws air into that engine to cool it down so it doesn't overheat, and so that big jet engine can go 300, 400, 500 miles per hour. Now the other falcon feature that's really cool and unique to falcons, none of the other raptors have it, is going to be on their beak. If you guys take a close look at her beak, you'll notice that real sharp point at the tip. But if you come back from that point about a third of the way, you'll notice there's a second point. It almost looks like a little shark tooth. Now that second point is called a tomial tooth, and it's something that falcons can use to help them dispatch their prey. Now remember, peregrine falcons, they like to catch other birds. And believe it or not, this peregrine falcon is capable of catching, killing, and eating a bird as large as a goose. Now obviously a goose is a lot bigger than she is, 3 to 4 times as big as she is. And so that's going to be a pretty hard animal for her to catch and consume. Now the way she's going to do it is she's going to use that height advantage. She's going to get above that goose in the sky. She's going to come diving down, strike that goose in the air just with the tips of her talons. At the speed of 200 miles an hour, that's going to knock that goose out of the sky. It's going to end up on the ground. Now it might not kill the goose. She's not going to slam into it full speed because that would kill both of them, and she doesn't want that. But it's going to stun it. The goose is going to be on the ground. That peregrine falcon is going to go and land on that goose. Now as soon as that goose starts to kind of come to and realize that there's an animal on it that wants to eat it, it's going to start fighting back, and because it's so much bigger, it's probably going to get away. So what peregrine falcons and other falcon species do when they catch their prey is they quickly bite down with their strong beaks right on their prey's neck. And that little extra tooth, believe it or not, is designed to slip right between the vertebrae and sever the animal's spinal cord. I know that's a little bit gruesome, but remember, we're talking about nature. Animals need any edge they can get to survive, and this edge gives falcons the ability to catch and consume animals that can be quite a bit larger than they are, and to quickly and easily dispatch them before they eat them. All right, so those are 2 really cool falcon features that you're only going to find on falcons. You won't find them on hawks or eagles or owls or other raptor species. All right, guys, I want to ask you a question. Take a look at this peregrine falcon standing here on my glove, and I want you to think, how much does that peregrine falcon weigh? Think of a number. Remember, we're going weight. We're talking about pounds here. If you feel like going to the metric system, you could do kilograms or grams. But go ahead and think about how much you think this bird would weigh. Now, I'm guessing a lot of you have experience with your pets at home, your cats or your dogs, and you're probably guessing 10, maybe 15, maybe even 20 pounds. Okay, about the size of one of your small cats or dogs at home. That would be a great guess if this peregrine falcon were a mammal. But guys, she's not a mammal, she's a bird. And because she's a bird, she has to fly to survive. She has to get herself up into the sky. And if she weighed 15, 20 pounds, that would be really hard to do. So birds have some amazing adaptations that make them much lighter than other animals. Believe it or not, this peregrine falcon only weighs 2 pounds. Okay, that's the same as 1 quart of water. So get your nice big water bottle, pick it up off the table, and that's how much this peregrine falcon weighs. Now, some of the reasons she's so light is, first, birds have hollow bones. So her bones aren't dense like ours. They're hollow like a straw, and that makes her skeleton very lightweight. Believe it or not, if we were to weigh all the feathers on this peregrine falcon, and we were to weigh all of her bones, the bones would actually be lighter than the feathers. And I'm sure you've all held a feather. You all know how extremely light feathers are. So it's pretty amazing how lightweight their skeleton is. Another adaptation they have that makes them light is these guys don't have teeth like us mammals do. And therefore, they just have a beak made up of keratin, the same stuff that's in your fingernails. And that makes their face and mouth quite a bit lighter. Now, the last adaptation is birds don't have a bladder. Yeah, I know, giggle, laugh, but you don't need a bladder, you don't need to hold in waste if you're a bird, because that waste is just extra weight. Remember, they're trying to streamline and stay as light as possible, so as soon as they produce their waste, they're going to get rid of it. And that's why your mom and dad are always having to clean up all that bird poop that they've got on their cars every day. All right, guys, so one more thing I want to talk to you about regarding the peregrine falcon is her name. Have any of you ever heard the word peregrine before? It's kind of a unique word. You've probably heard it if you've heard of a peregrine falcon. But the word itself is actually a word that you could look up and find in the dictionary. And that word peregrine means traveler or wanderer. And the reason this falcon is called the traveler falcon is because this bird is the most widespread bird on planet Earth. That means you can find peregrine falcons on every single continent on our planet except for one. You guys want to guess which one? I'm gonna give you a hint. It's really, really cold. Yep, you got it, Antarctica. So Antarctica is the only place where we won't find peregrine falcons. They're found on every other continent, and they breed in more different types of habitats, from the Arctic tundra to the rainforests of South America, than any other bird species on planet Earth. So this is a really fascinating bird. Not only is it the fastest animal alive, but it's the most widespread bird we have on our planet. And that means that even though you're living in San Diego right now, if you go travel somewhere exotic, or you grow up and get a little older and decide to move outside of San Diego, outside of the US, outside of North America, you can still find peregrine falcons. You can still appreciate this bird anywhere else on our planet, except of course for Antarctica, although I don't think anyone would really want to live there for too long. All right, so guys, that's it for our peregrine falcon. I've pretty much told you everything I know about this bird. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put her hood back on, and I'm gonna put her back in her box.